Welcome to my 2021 full bullet journal flip through. I debated whether or not to uh, just play music during this flip through, but ultimately I decided, you know what? I think it would be great to just talk through some of the changes because you might see some changes from the beginning to the end and why those happened, and just talk about what it was like using some of the spreads because some things worked, some things didn't. These Maisie Lane journals serve me well, and as you can see, they are chocked full of bullet journal spreads. Let's get into it. So if you've been watching my videos, you know that I am a maximalist rather than a minimalist when it comes to bullet journaling. So a blank Hello 2021 page with just my name is probably a surprise if you're coming in mid-year, but there was a lot to do with this 2021 setup. There was a lot of decorative work, painting, drawing, pop-ups, miniature drawings. I just wanted to focus on the artistic part of it. And if you've been watching, you know that my journal is really an extension of me. It's a place for me to artistically express myself as well as keep myself organized. It's the thing that really keeps me connected to my journal on a daily basis, creating something that I just want to go back to. This pop-up got a little bit messed up because I was going back to it and playing with it throughout 2021. So these are the workhorse pages, the future log, the what am I going to do, the goals pages. I spend a great deal of time working on goals. I did not, however, spend a good deal of time writing down the events, books, and songs that I wanted to sing in the journal in the early part of 2021. The pandemic was still happening and it just didn't seem necessary. This is a spread that I love, the year in pictures. And I have to tell you, I found this idea from Amanda Rachel. I think she was the first person I saw who set up her journal this way. And I just thought it was brilliant to just sort of look back in pictures because we take a lot of pictures, but we just sort of, at least I should say, I'm assuming, but I rarely print them out and put them on a page. And I really loved looking back as I was filming this, thinking about all the things that happened in the early part of 2021. And I also was thinking about how there just wasn't space to express the other things and feelings associated with those pictures. So you'll see how I transitioned and shifted as we went along. All right, this is my January setup. It was inspired by textiles, and I absolutely still love this spread. It's funny because it's so springy, but it was exactly what I needed in the month of January in 2021. We were really experiencing a real winter, and I just was envisioning spring. At this point in New York City, we've had sort of light flurries, but we really haven't had any snow. So my mindset now, January 2022, is very different. So this is the first of two spreads in my bullet journal that are inspired by musicals. This one in particular is inspired by the musical The Secret Garden. I can't remember exactly why I decided to do this theme. What I remembered though is so badly wanting to execute it exactly how I had it in my head. This detail paper cutting was it was so brutal on my hands. I had like sort of cramping like 2 days afterwards from the amount of time it took to cut out the details. Drawing it up was pretty straightforward, but cutting those spaces took so much. It wasn't even so much about the time as it was about the intensity of the act of doing it. Looking back at this mood tracker, I really wish that I had colored in those flowers, but you know, hindsight is 2020. When I do things like this, I try to just let them live as I created them in that moment. You'll also see that while I had the trackers there, I didn't really use them. And that happens sometimes. Sometimes you have the best intentions and then you shift and you do something else or you try again. So my March setup was inspired by pop art. It is my goal to not just take an aesthetic or theme or idea and render it the way that you would normally see it. I am constantly trying to find a way to sort of personalize it and make it my own. And so March pop art inspired pop-up was inspired by the work of pop artist Roy Lichtenstein. That's like a mouthful of tongue twisters. I really leaned into the aesthetic I felt, but did it in my own way and included my own narrative, if you will. Again, it's all super personal. My journal really is an extension of me. And again, I spend quite a bit of time trying to figure out what I'm going to do with these mood trackers. I'm very into them. So you saw there was some water, I guess you could call it damage. This came from this particular spread. This was sort of my Black literature Mount Rushmore, 3 literature sheroes, Toni Morrison, Alice Walker, and Maya Angelou. I did this page as a Women's History Month spread. It was a call from the official bullet journal page to do a Women's History Month spread, and that was mine. April. All right, so April was National Poetry Month, and it also was Easter. And this was my way of kind of marrying the two. I think the aesthetic lends itself much more to Easter, but the poetry is included. I enjoyed this spread. I'm not as personally connected to it. It's looking back on it, I think that it's pretty, and it was the first time that I used sort of what I would say an illustrative or like an illustration version of a mood tracker, and it was something I wanted to do and was pretty pleased with how it turned out. May. I just gotta have a second. This was so much work. It was a labor of love. I am a Harry Potter fan, and I wanted to do a spread in October, November of 2020, but just had this idea that needed more time to marinate, and this is what I came up with. I was trying to create the ultimate Harry Potter spread for me personally. I just wanted it to include all the things that I could think of into like one Harry Potter spread, which is saying something, because you really can't include all the magic of Harry Potter in one spread. But I tried to include as much of it as I could. Using this spread throughout the month, it was just so much fun. Going in every night and using the invisible ink on these trackers was really great. This moving serious black portrait, you have no idea how many times I just went back to this page during the month of May just to move the poster. I don't know what that says about me, but a little whimsy goes a long way. Especially when you're just sort of stressed or having a moment, just having a place to play is great. I don't know if I'll ever do another spread that detailed again. As I say that, I'm thinking, oh, maybe not. I had an idea for an Alice in Wonderland spread, but again, one of those things that's going to take me a long time to execute the way I want to. We'll see if I get to it in 2022. This was my take on minimalism, which is very minimal. But what I will say is that there wasn't a lot of labor involved in this process. It came together really quickly with stamps, and I used embossing powder and my heat tool to sort of create this beautiful chinoiserie style wallpaper effect in my journal. It was really quick and easy, and honestly, anyone could do it. One of the things you'll start to notice, though, if you're looking at my sort of organizational content, is that you'll see a spread here that wasn't set up originally. I really needed to have a spread to set up notes for my 2022 setup and to figure out some things in terms of auditions. Things were picking up really quickly, and there was a lot of things to do, and this was an exercise tracker that I had put into place. I was really trying to refocus on fitness. I in the past had been a bit of a gym rat, a person who really loved the gym, but due to injury hadn't been able to get back there. The back of my journal, when there are extra pages, this is what I do with them. I come and test out setups. We'll see these setups in a future bullet journal spread. And here are some drawings from another future bullet journal spreads. These pages don't go to waste. A lot of creators will talk about those back pages and how they hate not using them, but I have found that they never go to waste. And we're going to take a look in the envelope. This is a place you can see I parked so many things. There's prescriptions from my doctor, little drawings and stencils I created, the beginnings of the Harry Potter idea right there. That's it. That was the beginning of it. And there are so many prototypes that I couldn't fit here. Just paper. I put a lot of things in this back envelope, and I thought, it would be kind of cool to see what is back there. No one ever really shows that part in a flip through. All right, journal number 2. The first thing you'll notice is we went all out in this hello page. I decided that stamps were the way to go. It was laborious is what I'll say, but it wasn't difficult. I spent a good deal of time trying to figure out all the different patterns I could create with the stamps that I had, which ones I was going to use, which ones I wasn't going to use. Now I put a full year, meaning the first half or the second half of 2021 and the first half of 2022. The future log is really important for parking things. I didn't have a lot to park, but I really wasn't sure if this was going to be like a normal year. And in a normal year, I would have a lot of things to put down. So my goals, I spent some time sort of re-establishing them, figuring out how to organize them, and I color coded them. And then I was thinking about this 12-week year, and I wanted to break it down into 2 12-week periods for the second half of the year. And you'll see that just didn't happen. I got really busy with work, and going back out into the world proved to be a little bit difficult. I was highly stressed. All right, the introduction of pockets for list of things that are going to be carried from one year to the next. I think this is going to be something that I carry with me from now on. It just was the best. I have already transferred right after this flip right into my journal. It's not something I have to refill out. Eventually I'll, add a different card maybe, but I like the idea of carrying it over. And you'll see I solved this issue of the year at a glance by adding sort of a diary section at the bottom of the page. I really couldn't resist talking about not so much the picture, but the month as a whole. And this was really satisfying for me to come back to it at the end of a month. It was also really interesting for me to look back and see that for the past 3 months, I chose pictures of me and my dog, Brando. I hadn't noticed to exactly at that moment flipping through that I had done that. It's always interesting just to look back. All right, this was my Olympic spread that I set up for July. I love the Olympics. I was really excited. And at this time, we weren't even sure if the Olympics was going to happen. But I decided to, take a leap of faith that it would and set up this spread. This spinning simobiles was a real moment for me. It's kind of the Sirius Black poster of the second half of my journal. I especially in the couple of months after the Olympics, went back to mess around with Simone for a minute. All right, so if you see what I'm looking at here, this was one of those things where the first time I've ever done like a flip out edition page, and I would say it wasn't really a success. It wasn't very sturdy, but luckily I didn't use that page much. So it's something I'm gonna have to think about. How can I do that or execute it in a way that down the line it isn't going to fall apart. All right, this was my exercise tracker. August, I actually ended up having surgery again, and on my ankle, and so I was not able to exercise. And this mood tracker was a lot of fun. I created with my silhouette stamp maker these little swimmers, synchronized swimmers, and this was a lot of fun. And I used pretty much every color, nearly every color in that sort of Crayolas of the world. So every color that they represented, I tried to represent in my journal. So this was the first time I put in a page in my journal where I could work through what the next month was, but found that it just wasn't enough space, and I went back to a notebook. Maybe one day I'll share that with you. This is a special spread, this setup, because normally I have an idea and there's sort of lots of planning that goes into it, and this was really freestyle in terms of looking at what I had already purchased. I didn't really purchase a lot of things to create spreads. A lot of times I have ideas and then I get the things I need to create those spreads. In this case, I looked at the things I had and determined what I was going to make, and the limitations of that ended up being this. And this was something I was really proud of. That paperwork was incredibly difficult in terms of time, but this was one of my favorites of the year. And I don't like to claim favorites because each of them has a sort of personal place. And this mood tracker too, it was so nice to come back each night and create these patterns. I had the limitations of the main colors. There was only 3 of them, but using other colors to create it. Oh, there it is, the pop-up, this graffiti art spread. This was an idea that I had, but I was going to do something totally different this month, and came in to September, I was going to do like a back to school spread, and I still might do that back to school spread idea because it was such a great idea, but I just wasn't in that space, and I really was into this. And you see the pop-up practices. Doing the practices really helped to make sure that the pages are rendered in a way that really makes them stable. Trackers, I'm starting to use them again. You'll notice things. I find that I am really good at staying on top of things when I'm really busy. When I have a lot more free time, I tend to not be on top of my trackers. Again, this mood tracker was really awesome. I wish, and I'm gonna resist the urge to go back in and retrace all the black lines so they're more prominent. But this is the after I had filled it in with ink. I used ink throughout the month. It was really quick to do each night, and I enjoyed it. So in order to stabilize pages, I always intend to glue that down, and that's what that missing page was. When you do pop-ups, the pages can get really worn, so having 2 pages glued together really works. All right, the Sweeney Todd spread. It's interesting, at the time that I chose to do this spread, who knew that we were going to lose Sondheim? He's one of my absolute favorite musical theater composers, and really had an effect on my life that not just me, I think there are a lot of people that he had a profound effect on. And so looking back at the Sweeney Todd spread, in hindsight, it's pretty special. So yeah, It was for my Halloween spreads, and yeah, I'm pretty pleased with it. Signor Preali's magical elixir. I couldn't fill out the page without singing the song as I was drawing it. And Milena Day. So you'll see these extra pages that pop up. This is one of the reasons that I don't plan too much ahead. I use my journal month to month. I plan ahead in terms of putting the video together, but sometimes things pop up and you need to add something. And if I have already set up a spread, I often will just go to the back of my journal. Fox and the Hound. This was about family and remembering and loss and childhood. It was really nostalgic, and I enjoyed these pages. This was also when there was a shift in terms of I had so much to do that I started writing things down at the bottom in that extra space, and thought I'm going to lean into this Alistair method for the December. Again, the mood tracker, but you'll see the trackers are basically empty. I just did not have the energy to do more than what I had to do in the month of November. And there was a lot to do. So this is a Kanban board. You probably have seen them, but this was mine. I put it together in order to just sort of organize myself in terms of placing videos. Look, we're gonna move this together. By the time you see this video will be done. That's my 2021 flip, and there we go. It's a great way to organize yourself, especially when you have multiple projects and things that you're doing at once. And the final spread, the December spread, I had this idea in December of 2020 and finally get to execute it here in December of 2021. You'll see that the package tracker is empty despite many packages coming in and out, and that's something that happens. I don't always keep up with the spread. Sometimes it's just easier to look on my computer to see where it is. I kind of keep all the trackers open in its own separate window so that I can track things. Like you find other ways of organizing yourself. And may your days be merry and bright. I really loved how this came together too. And it was one of the reasons that I didn't shoot a full flip until it was complete. All right. That is pretty much it. You'll see there's some extra pages. I'm already using them for other things in my journal. These are some extra work spreads, like spreads that I'm going to be using throughout the months. And this is a one of those where I show you all of my pens and the colors. I will not do this again unless I get new pens and just need to see the colors. I can't imagine redoing that in every journal, but I know where it is if I need to find it. And of course, the pen test, which comes in handy, like I said, when new things come. And there it is, the final pocket. Not a lot in there, but this picture was a contender for my monthly. This was from my my bandages. My doc drew a drawing that was pretty basic, and I made it into, I filtered it through my own lens. All right, 2021 full flip. This was an amazing accomplishment for me. A full year of bullet journaling. Thanks for taking the journey with me. I hope you'll stay and follow me in 2022. If you like this content, please like and subscribe.